Did you know that coming up with date ideas is not as easy as it would seem for couples? I didn't either. Did you know that there are things that you shouldn't do during date night because it actually doesn't serve you two well at all? I used to think that married couples had no issues coming up with this, right? That was until a few years back when I realized time and time again that my couples would hit this wall and not be able to think of anything to do together. And so when I saw this pattern repeatedly, I would continue to have all sorts of conversations with couples in my office about new things, about different things that they can do together on a regular basis to make sure that they don't grow into strangers over time. And also to make sure that they knew what not to do. And that's what we're talking about today. But first, real quick, word of caution. If you think this only happens to the newlyweds, think again. If you think this only happens to people who seemingly have no creative juices flowing through their bodies, think again. I found that so often they've used them up at work or with their kids, leaving them with no ability to come up with some solid date ideas at the end of their day on their own. And if you think that this only happens to couples who have been together forever, think 20, 30, 40 years, one last time, think again. We all have these date ideas that are sort of our go-tos. When the question arises, right? It's date night tonight, what should we do? And then, because nothing else seems available or within our reach, we end up going for the, what I call, not so great category. And that's what I want to talk about today. See for yourselves if any of these resonate with you at all. Number 1, movie night at home, or seeing a movie at the movie theater, or the ultimate dinner and a movie combo. Number 2, finding a new favorite in the TV series realm and binge watching that over the course of a Saturday. Number 3, having family over for dinner. Sounds great. Number 4, let's get together with so-and-so. Like, think your couple friends and do a double date with them. And last but not least, sitting down at home, doing work alongside of each other on the living room couch. And some of you will say to me immediately, wait a minute, but these date ideas seem just fine to me. What's wrong with them? And that question comes up a lot, believe it or not. Now, here's the thing. There is nothing wrong with any of the activities above in and of themselves, except that if that's what you do every time you think of having a date night with your spouse, it's not really spending time together in a way that I'd like to see you spending time together. That was a doozy. Did I lose you there? Hold on, I'll explain. Let's go to the first one. The dinner and the movie deal. If this is what you like to do, you are welcome to watch movies together so long as it's not the only thing you do every time you're trying to connect. Why? Because when you stare at a screen, right, even if you may be staring at the same screen together, you're not actually engaging with each other during that time, other than perhaps bumping it right into each other's hand in the popcorn bowl, or feeling your spouse's arm around your shoulder. Both of which are great on the side, but not as the main course, so to speak. And I will say, if you are, in fact, pairing it up with dinner beforehand or afterwards, where you put your phones away and you create some space to actually have a meaningful conversation, you might be able to pass with that one. But that is what is required. Okay? So, next. And this kind of goes for items, what did I say, 2 and 5. So the binge watching and the working together. And yeah, it goes for both of these. And you can likely now see the overlap with my point about the movie also. Here's what I'd say. Feel free to work together, each on your own computers or on the same computer. But do me a favor, actually do yourselves a favor. Don't call it date night. Call it what it is. Call it work, or give it a proper binge-worthy title. I know that sometimes life happens, things happen at work, and the ideal sort of schedule goes out the window, and you have to get some things done. That's fine. And sure, is it nicer than both of you sitting in your respective offices on opposite sides of town when it's 9 o'clock at night? By all means. But don't fool yourselves into thinking that by doing so, you will keep growing closer together. And let's be honest, half the time, one of you conks out. So I hear. So I am told anyway. Apparently you know who that is. So that's another reason. All right, let's move on to number 3, the family deal. Okay? The one with the family is a little bit tricky. I'll give you that. You want to have time with your extended family members. You want your parents to know their grandchildren. I get it. But again, that cannot be the sum of all that you do together with your spouse. And that's what we're talking about here. Family time can be great, and it's necessary by all means. So I'm all for it. Plus, I would generally never advise against it, but you have got to find times to just do something, the two of you, because date night is meant to allow you two to connect on a level that you can't over text message or email, and that you also can't do when your own parents or your in-laws are around. When you two, right, like, can be present to each other, that's impossible when you have to run around bringing food to the table, making sure that everyone else is comfortable, if you're the one who's hosting and having a good time, or, heaven forbid, you still need to finish the dessert because you ran out of time. I'm out of breath even just saying that out loud. Does that make sense? Do family time, but don't make that be a replacement for what you two do as a couple. All right? Next up, doing a double date. And that one sort of falls into the same bucket as the one with having family over for dinner. And here's what I mean. Unless these are really, really close friends of yours, and you can have deep conversations around the table without holding back, double dates are good, right? Like, they're good for a light evening out. They're good for meeting new friends. But again, contrary to their name, I know they obviously forgot to consult me on this one. They do not qualify for a date night. Why? Because you still, much like with the family, have to look out for 2 extra people and make sure that they are having a good time, that you as a group are meshing well, right? You have to talk about things You have to talk about things that will include these other two people somehow, unless you don't mind being rude. And by doing that, not allowing for the topics that maybe only you and your spouse would want to dig into. And I will say this one more time. Keeping up with your circle of friends or creating a new social circle is a fabulous idea. I am a fan 100%, but you will, most of the time anyway, not be able to have it work in your favor as a couple on date night. Okay? So, now that you know what essentially not to do and why, or not to do all the time anyway, and fool yourselves into believing that we had time together, if you're sitting there wondering, okay, so if this is right, like if this is not it, if none of these things fit the bill properly enough, what do we do? I share a number of fun or simple, to each their own, ideas that you can access immediately. Just click over to the next video and I'll see you there. Because knowing what not to do isn't enough. You need to know what to replace those times with and make it both meaningful and fun. And if you're still on the fence that date nights are something you should consider at all for you and your marriage, or make it a regular practice in your life, check out this other video right here where I talk about how date nights are very much back in style and why you might want to get on that train as well. So, I'll see you in there.